Welcome to the DrayOS Setup tutorial. This is a series of scripts that simulate a computer within Space Engineers. It simulates this via text LCD screen swapping, and with that we can save, load, write, and pull functions simulating an internet, internal computer networks, and then running various functions and other blocks off of the computers as we please. So to start this off, I'm going to show what they do, and then we're going to go on to how they work, and then we're going to build one from scratch in a separate grid so that you can see everything you would have to do to set up your own on your server. A couple things to note before we get started. This script was built around the idea of extreme simplicity. And by that I mean it's never doing constant updates. It only updates when the little tiny button here is pushed for an update. And the reason being is so it does not lag down the server. We have a rather large city here. The whole thing's connected. They all have computers and TVs and all that stuff in their homes. So we want to keep that as to where they can all have that, and the sim speed doesn't drop down to 0.3 every 2 seconds because these are running updates every tick. As such, you can't use things like mmasters natively on like a website or internal storage. However, it'd be very, very easy to just take and write a new function in here. And you can even use what I use for most of this, which is Visual Script Builder. Link will be down below for that. So it's a very easy way of building chunks. A lot of people, they don't like it because they say it's horrible for learning code, but I think it's a really easy way to just get kind of started and doing stuff, and that's what we built this with. So without further ado, we'll get into it. I've scripted the sites out to look like actual websites. We have newava.gov, and then the page will be in right below. Every single page, I would suggest, if you're doing an internet, you do a home and a directory. And what that does is, just your home page, you're welcome, whatever. And then the directory is so everybody knows what to type in to find what pages your website has. You could also display a couple of these at the bottom of the page, at the end of it, next, previous, etc., etc. So I can enter any one of these over to the page on newava.gov, and it will go to that. Keep in mind when entering these, everything is case sensitive, so no spaces, no enters, none of that. They will screw it up and it won't understand what you're saying. That's all pretty simple. And that is our website emulator. Now some of these better computers can use websites as well. It depends on what functions you put into that other thing we'll get into later. So right now, we'll just go ahead and clear what's over on the screen. This is a heavy-duty computer, so right now I'm going to clear out what's in these bars. This is my directory right now. I'm just going to load this up so that we start off fresh. So I just loaded up my screensaver. We have various things in Casco's server hosting and stuff, which would be like customer files. We do our directories with underscores here. So to open my customer folder, I would type that in my directory box. I know that I saved the file as my customer number and name. And the command that I want to run is load. And then I loaded in all my information. Now, if I did want to, say, change this and double charge on that, I can run this back into the system by doing the save command. If we delete that and we go ahead and we're like, alright, let's make sure that's saved. Load. Boom. And 50k right there. So we got all that saved in. And that's just essentially the brunt of what it does. I can load various different things in from here if I could think of them. There's one. Again, this is all for a roleplay server, so most of this is roleplay for Casco, but it's the order list that we have going. So if somebody were to say downstairs here, behind there, I have a customer in roleplay come in, say, hey, you know, I want to set up an account. No, it's already up, actually. Didn't load from upstairs. It was just loaded here. I would see that when I loaded that if I changed that, loaded it upstairs. And this is how that directory works as well. So temp underscore would be where order is, and then type in that to see what the server order was. So temp underscore and then server order all capital. No spaces. And then we even listed the commands down here that you can do. So load, save, clear screen. And you notice this changes every time too. So that's because if you leave save on there and you go to load something up, you don't think about it, you hit the button, you just lost all your data. So yeah, that loaded up fine. And that's how that works. Let's look at the actual computer that's running all that. I'm using heavy quotes there as I say this. There's plenty going in here. Build a computer, you just can't get lighting going, right? User inertia dampener. So bum 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 bum. This is it. Don't be overwhelmed. Most of this is all bullcrap, to be honest. For instance, these are just the black panels in the back aren't needed. Those are so I can physically see what's in here. This whole bit over here is essentially a hard drive, and each one of these are a separate folder file within the hard drive. There's the queue we were looking at. Let's have a look at its name. So we're going to ignore the BRD right now. That's census. This is the directory. Like I said, we separate them with underscores, but you could do slashes, you could do equals. It really doesn't matter. That's just the format that we're using. As well as the internet's using .com, but no slashes because people typically wouldn't write a slash into a page. And then this is the file. And lastly, this is the tag. We'll get into that when we look at the programmable blocks. And then if we just look at, we'll have a look at the other file I opened here. It was my customer order. So we see that I typed in the customer underscore, and I just typed in my name with this number first. So it's just literally referencing the name to it is the directory and the file name. I do directory and file name, that way we can have like everything that starts with cust underscore can be selected and pulled out and dragged, picked and pulled. Bit of a filter sort of. This is to keep separate factions and businesses, in this case in roleplay, from overlapping and having duplication issues. Onward. There's a bunch of programmable blocks here, but these are all running different things. The computer upstairs in my office runs off of these 5 blocks. And that's the big computer. So this one right here is the screen. It basically runs that command block. If you have a web block, you only need that. So if you have just an internet browser, it doesn't save documents, it doesn't load them, it just needs this. This is my load, that's my save, that's my clear screen command. And then that's just the simple computer. These are the 2 public PCs that are out front. And this is the one behind the desk where you would take down information, store it, roleplay status. So all pretty simple. Further note on these, we have the tag again here. Now we're going to talk about this a little bit. Each one of these names has that tag in it. And that tag in this number, the computer 1, this is computer 1, the 1 right there, those all change. And it references a computer within what you also have to change in this. The only bit of this you'll ever have to edit is that 1. So if you change this 1 to say oops or ooze, and then we'll change the tag to das. Out here it would have to be das and oos. Okay, let's change this back so I don't forget. Why is my stuff not working? And we'll get into that in the install, which we'll move on to in just a moment here. Inside each one of the programmable blocks, you'll see the name. That programmable block should be natively named, so BRD there, and whatever the 1 is here. Let's make make setup just a little bit more simpler. I think that about does it, other than let's have a look at the internet. By internet, I mean we're going to take this really long ride down this elevator into a tiny little hole beneath the Earth's core. The only thing that a computer would really, I think, cause lag with is like having a bunch of LCDs around. You can always have the no content on, and the other thing you can do is put them very far away so that they're out of render distance at all. So here we have the government website we had looked at first when we came up. This is City Figures home right there, perfect. So we have no dot with the www. That's simply a tag. What that tag does, these are all supposed to be shared with all. What this tag does is it just says, hey, that's World Wide Web, and anything with the web function looks for World Wide Web. So you don't need to type this in at all unless you're making a new LCD. Also keep in mind that if anyone puts an LCD on the grid and tags the beginning bit with this, you'll be able to find it with that browser as well. Moving on, so nueva.gov, that's the internet site, and then obviously the page is home afterward. No slash needed because you don't want, whatever, if you put a slash in here like so, your people would either have to type nueva.gov// or they would have to type nueva.gov, and then in the page they'd have to type /home. It's up to you, but I just suggest that you get a decent format going that works for you, and you stick with it and try to keep it server wide if you're on a server. And that's pretty much it for setting up those. They're about the same as setting up a piece in your computer, which we are now going to go outside to a separate grid and set one up real quick. So here we've arrived at a pretty basic grid, just got a battery, some stuff on it. You can do this out of large or small, really doesn't matter. I like putting connectors on for my hosting networks. It's like the main computer spot that's gonna have a lot of LCDs. With the small ones, the small clear LCDs, they show up as a 1x1, so that's great for space saving. And they use connectors over routers now because they're so much more stable. So that being said, let's set up our computer. Everything in my hotbar is what you're gonna need in order to set this up. This is what's absolutely essential number of things to set up. I am gonna add these just as some guides real quick. So to begin, we're not going to use this bottom one. We'll just make a web-based browser, and we'll show you that setup because that literally only takes this one block. The names of everything that you're going to need are right here. These are all default names, so mind you. So the tag you will have to change as you need. For instance, that the screen that we're going to make here is going to be our tag LEP. So we're going to set it to, and then computer 1. And we know that we're going to have LEP. I believe it's computer directory, but I'm going to have to look at that data pad again. That'll all be on the Steam Workshop alongside those. Yeah, computer directory, then computer input and command. case sensitive. Let's check over our work once. The biggest problem I run into setting these up is a typo, and it's usually always the stupidest thing in the world. So let's head into our programmable block, load up the script for the comp web, copy that into the editor. The thing we're changing here is LEP. We're just keeping computer number 1 the same, but we will set up a different computer in a minute to show how that's done. So check over capital LEP 1, yep, okay, everything's good. Oh, no, it's not though, because we need to grab this. The top of every single one of these, you'll see what the programmable block should be named right here. Replace it with our tag. Always check your tags, check the capitalization. We should be all set to go. Only thing left to do is tell this to run that block with the default argument. Now, we might be all good to go, but we don't have any websites to go to on this grid. It's not connected to anything, it's not connected to the city. So let's just have us run back here real quick, and we're just going to make a website. That's simple. As we said before, we're going to tag the website with www. In this case, we're going to do dray.com. And we're going to have a home page. And we'll do www.dray.com with a directory. That looks good. Nope, it does not look good. Not capitalize the D. Okay, that's all good. So we're going to say home, and we're going to say dir. Now let's go to dray.com. We're going to go to the home page. And just hit the button. Cool. Keep in mind too, if you wanted to, you could hide this panel. The panel has to exist somewhere for that computer, but you could also do that format if you wanted to, and it would load. That is not a good example. And it would still load. So that is our basic thing. Command is absolutely useless because it does not write or save at all to anything. So let's add some functionality to this computer here. No, better yet, let's get rid of those. Let's make a new computer. That same setup. So we can see how we're going to rename a different computer. So, directory. File. Command. Come on, bugger. Okay. So we've got LEP, computer, directory. We're going to call this computer Dray. No numbers, just Dray. Alright. This will be LEP computer input Dray. And this one will be LEP computer command Dray. This will be LEP computer Dray. Now that's all good for that bit. This is a separate computer. It's not going to have web. This web is only identifying that over there, that computer, because of the names. Let's load in our very first, which will be the command. It doesn't have to be loaded in first, I just like to. In this case, we're changing this to LEP, and the computer name is now Dray, because we changed the 1 to a Dray. We take the name out, we now know that it's CompCom Dray, and this this is LEP. So we can identify it all. Let's check over everything one more time to make sure that that's capital, this is all good, nothing's weird there, okay. It's capital, nothing's weird there, and that looks pretty good, I think. I will probably find out that I forgot to do something in a minute. Let's do the load script. Now some of these functions work a little funky maybe at first, I guess. We're replacing the 1 with Dray, but not load. Load is what the other block knows to call for that function. So if you change this to a lowercase l when you type it into the command bar instead of typing in capital L, it would be lowercase. Just something to note. So we're working on Dray. I forgot what we were working on. This would be all capital LEP. Go in here. That's already done because I'm a dum-dum. Okay. That's good. That's good. And finally, we're going to do the save script. Save 1 right there. This will be a Dray. This will be an LEP. And we'll copy this out here, here, changing just the 1 to a Dray, and changing the BRD to an LEP. We now should be all good to go. We don't have any internal directories, however. We do have the website, but this, like I said, will not access the www tag without one of these blocks being attached to it. We could put one on it. We'll get to that in a moment. Right now, let's make an internal directory for that. We're going to identify the internal directory first by tagging it, and we'll just name the directory stuff. Actually, so inside of stuff, we'll just say stop lagging server. Server laggy stuff here. Stuff 2, more lag. Lag. And then we will do LEP. Stuff 2. Did I name that right over here? Good. And here we'll do stuff, and then just to make it do things too. There we go. So that is the directory of stuff. You'll find it when you're looking in stuff, and then you just change your sub up to whatever. As such. So we got stuff. Let's load stuff. We also need to put a button on. Sorry. So this button right here triggers this block for the web. That's the web block. This one is going to trigger our command block, which takes its command from here, load, being the block that it's running here. And we just need to run that with the default argument, which is going to take that from there, hopefully, and put that there. Boom. So things 2 gives us more lag. Let's look at things 2. Beautiful. So that is the basic setup to everything. Again, if we had wanted to add a web block here, I'll just copy the web. That's off of block or the workshop. It's LEP, but this is going to be Dray. Yeah, we're going to change that. And now we've identified that second computer. computer here is that, so it's called web though, because this is computer Dray load, computer Dray save, computer Dray web. We'll have to plug web into the command in order to get the web block to function. Any new blocks you put on, you want this named first, and then the name of the block of the function after. So let's see why we do that. We're going to dray.com it was, I think. We're going to hit up the home page. And let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens if we type in load. Nothing. Now let's check out web. It loads. Cool. So that means that on a computer that has an internal network, you can still give it a web interface without having to be able to write to the internet. And this computer, again, is running out of these 4 blocks. That one for just the internet, just that one. And I really hope that helps some people maybe set this up. I have never done a tutorial video before, so this is probably going to be chopped and cut to no wit's end. I appreciate you following along. I really, really appreciate you using the script and possibly populating your server with it for whatever means it happens to be, and anybody who adds functions to it, that stuff would be really great to see what happens with it. Keep in mind, simplicity is the idea here, so it doesn't overload anyone's server, and we can have these massive cities role-playing with internet, computers, just all that jazzy stuff.